Since the last time I covered making local chat interfaces with open source models, Gradio has had some updates and I've learned a little bit more. So let's go ahead and see how to make a local or hosted chat interface like this one. To start, we'll import Gradio for the interface, of course, transformers for the model and inference of that model, and then finally threading, which we'll use to make a stream of text from the model, which really makes just such a huge difference to the actual user experience, even if it's just you that's using it. In effect, you're basically getting instantaneous responses back, and in many cases, it can stream faster than you can read, so it just makes it almost like an instant feedback. Then we'll specify model ID, which corresponds to the HuggingFace model. Keep in mind that the model that you choose will likely have some specific prompt structure. If you want to make a chatbot like what we're doing here, it's important that you note the prompt format for the model that you're using. So whatever it was fine-tuned with, you're going to want to mimic that. Many, if not most models, are actually robust enough to probably zero-shot figure out the structure that you're using and continue with it, but for best results, you really should be using whatever the model creators used to fine-tune that model. So in this case, I'm referencing any of the instruct model variants, but you could also, I suppose, create a sort of chat interface with some of these base models, again, just sort of zero-shotting the prompt structure. But in this case, we're going to be using the instruct variants, which instruct and chat are basically the same thing. So then we're going to define the model itself and where we want to run the model with the device map. In my case, I'm going to go with auto, so it'll load onto my GPUs. From here, we specify tokenizer, and then I'm adding a brief description for the application itself to show on the page, which we'll do with the Gradio element, and you'll see that when we get there. Next, as a quick aside, I hosted the larger stable beluga model, a 70 billion parameter model. It's actually still live right now at cyber.io/chat, but take note, it's linearly processed, so there very well may be a gigantic queue to use it now that I've brought it up, or that it's crashed entirely, or I've stopped hosting it for any reason at all. Anyway, upon sharing this model publicly and kind of sharing it on Twitter and stuff, and seeing what people are doing with it, I noticed how few people understood the system prompt's purpose, so I just wanted to add an explanation for it. So that's what we're doing here. Also, this is part of the benefit of working with some of these open source models. So now you can sort of modify the quote unquote system prompt of things like ChatGPT. I don't think you can for Anthropic's Claude, for example, but Stable Beluga especially, but even Llama 2 are both models that are, they come out of the box with very safety focused system prompts. And then the actual model like ChatGPT, for example, is very heavily biased and has like safety rails and stuff towards answering things and not offending anybody. Whereas the Llama 2 model, it does come with a system prompt that is fairly safety and guardrail-y, but using the system prompt, you can actually elicit a lot of other behaviors from it, and especially the Stable Beluga model, you can do quite a bit by modifying both that system prompt and then also just sort of injecting a fake history, so to speak, if you really want, and then building from there. Next, for these system prompts, I give a list of some example system prompts which I'll let people pick from in a drop-down menu, as well as if they want, they can write their own entirely. I'll then make a prompt build function which takes the system prompt, the user input, and the history of all inputs and responses from up to that point, essentially, to then construct the actual prompt format for the particular model that we're using. And this is what I meant. You will want to mimic the prompt structure that whatever model you're using was formatted on. If you're using any of the Stable Beluga models, then you can use the exact code I've used here. All right, now that that's done, we'll build the chat function, which is going to take the input from the Gradio app itself, build the prompt for the model, tokenize it, define the streamer, and now I'm actually wondering if I actually could just define this outside of the chat function. Pretty sure I could, but moving on anyways. We'll specify the model generation keyword arguments, or kwargs, which are just what we would normally have passed straight into model.generate. But we're defining them here so that we can pass them into the thread call. In our case, we'll pass the model inputs, which will be the tokenized prompt, basically. Then the streamer object so that we can stream max length, which is the max length for this model. Do sample is true for basically sampling from a probability distribution, so i.e. don't be greedy, but you might want to be greedy, I suppose, if you want. Anyways, then we'll set top P, temperature, and top K, all things that you can feel free to tinker with on your own if you want. Next, we'll set up our thread object targeting model.generate and passing those kwargs, and then we'll start the thread. From here, we can pull the streaming text from that streamer object and add it to the model output. While we're still streaming, we'll yield the model output, and when we're done, we'll return. The Gradio chat interface element supports using a generator like this for streaming text into the UI. So that's how we're combining both the streaming text from HuggingFace transformers and the sort of live streaming of text from the model into the UI for the user. As an aside, the actual streaming of the chat interface can also be combined with any streaming API, for example. So if you are using ChatGPT or the OpenAI API, you still could stream into your app if you wanted. Okay, so up to this point, we've actually got everything we need except for the UI itself, pretty much. So we'll start setting up the Gradio blocks structure, which just stacks these elements in order, essentially. So we'll start with a markdown element with our description, then the system prompt explanation, then we'll add a drop-down element for the preset prompts, setting a default, along with allowing people to set their own custom just by typing it in if they want. And then finally, we add the Gradio chat interface element with the chat function, which we will also specify the dropdown as an additional element, since our chat function actually depends on what system prompt the user has selected. We actually want that to be an input into this function. From here, that's it. We launch the application. I set API open to false and show API to false. Mostly I'm doing this for the hosted app that I'm actually myself hosting publicly. This may change eventually, but I think there's actually a bug with the API. You might not even notice it, but when you do host it, there is like a little API link at the bottom. You can click that and get API endpoints. So you really not just get a chat interface, you actually get a fully functional API. So essentially Gradio automatically builds a sort of API for your app, which is super cool. I got like goosebumps when I stumbled into that, but it doesn't seem to actually work with the chat interface, or maybe it's the streaming, maybe it's the threading that I'm doing. I'm not really sure. Maybe something to dive into later, or if you're someone that works at Gradio, maybe take a peek into that and let me know why that didn't work, if it was something I did wrong, or fix the bug, I suppose. Other than that, I'm setting the server name to 0.0.0.0, I think I got that right, purely so I can access this UI from any machine on network. This includes if you're hosting the machine with a public IP. You can just go to that IP and then port 7860, and you can actually use that app. All right, so that was maybe in your eyes a lot of code, but really it's pretty much all boilerplate code. We're just connecting a bunch of little elements here. So if you have any questions or confusions, feel free to comment below, but we've done our imports, specified our model, tokenizer, we wrote a simple description, a system prompt explanation, and a bunch of example prompts. Then we have a function that takes new input from the user and builds the full prompt in the format that the model that we're using is expecting. Then we have a chat function that takes the raw user input, the full history so far, and the system prompt up to this point defines the streamer that should probably be defined outside of this function at the top, defines the generation kwargs for the model.generate, spins up a thread, and then a little generator to grab the streaming text back from the model. Then all we do is build the UI on top, which passes in those descriptions, makes the dropdown for the system prompts, and then adds the chat interface element that's powered by the chat function, and bing, bang, boom, we have our app. Okay, and up to this point, you can use it just fine like this, provided it fits into your memory, either on CPU and RAM, I'm sorry if that's you, or onto your actual GPU, so it's actually relatively fast. There are other stable Beluga sizes, from this 70 or 7B or 7 billion parameter to a 13B, and then the full 70B. There is a 30-ish billion Llama 2 model that, as far as I know, has not yet been released due to, I'm not sure, safety or guardrail-y stuff from Meta, so we're kind of just waiting on that. There are also a ton of other instruct models on HuggingFace that you could check out to get one that just fits so perfectly into your machine's setup. So just don't forget to style the prompt to be exactly whatever that model wants. So here you can see an example of the model helping us with some basic matplotlib code as a just quick example. And again, just the little stuff that Gradio has done for us, like formatting this Python snippet. It's just so cool with the syntax highlighting and all that. This would be a nightmare to have to do all by yourself. Anyway, this is just a really quick example, and just take note too, this model, this stable Beluga model, is actually a general purpose model. It didn't have to be doing programming stuff. You could ask it for anything that you might ask ChatGPT. All right, so that's cool, but at least for me locally, it takes up a whopping 27 gigabytes of VRAM. I think full precision might still fit on a 24 gigabyte card. That other 3 might be some sort of caching or something going on, but we can actually get this to be quite a bit smaller and maybe even eke out a little more speed along the way. To start, we can import bfloat16 from Torch and then write a b&b config, which is bits and bytes. If you don't have bits and bytes, you can pip install bits and bytes, all one word. This config can then be passed to our model's definition, which will load our model in as 4 bits using normalized float 4 where possible, otherwise bfloat16. And with that, instead of our model taking 27 gigabytes of memory, it takes 5.2 gigabytes under load. You'll likely also see a speed up as well in inference. It is important to note this is degrading the data type from 32-bit down to 4-bit. In most cases, for most findings, the actual degradation in like model performance when you use quantization like this is minimal, if even noticeable at all, and is usually worth it. All right, finally, we've made it this far. You could walk away yet again, but I tend to be a little tired of the default styling of Gradio apps, since you basically see these everywhere now, especially if you spend any time on HuggingFace, especially in spaces which are basically hosted Gradio apps. So I started diving into the customizing and the styling, and this is where I admittedly know the very least about Gradio, but I'll share my findings so far, and Gradio people can likely have a chuckle at me struggling to understand some really basic stuff. Anyway, so first off, Gradio actually comes with a handful of themes that you can start from. You can create your own themes, and or you can customize just the colors of those themes, and then you can even change things like the font. I opted to take a pre-existing theme after checking out some of the other themes. I really just didn't, I was just like annoyed at all the curves and all that stuff for the corners. I really just wanted something boxy, and I found a pre-existing theme that really looked the way I wanted. I just maybe wanted a different font and colors. So to start, I imported the color class from the Gradio library so that I could define my own. Now I'm just going to go ahead and paste in the colors. I have absolutely no idea what these names like correspond to, like Y50, Y100, Y950, like I just don't know. What I do know is they do correspond to different things through trial and error, and as you can see my comments as such of what I've figured out so far, I am sure it is documented somewhere. I just couldn't find it quickly and went with trial and error. The only other change that we make is with the statements gradio.blocks. In there, we're going to pass the theme that we want to use. In my case, this is one of the many Gradio themes already made. I specify a new Google font that I want to use, and then we get to the next area that I'm totally baffled about. Primary hue, secondary hue, and neutral hue. What the heck are these? Who knows really? But neutral hue is definitely the main app coloring, or so it seems. I've only ever seen the primary hue colors as far as I can tell when responses are loading, and then the secondary hue color seems to have at minimum something to do with the color of URLs. Again, that all seems very confusing to me, and given how obvious and clear the rest of Gradio is, I'm guessing I'm just missing something extremely glaring, but this is what I've done. So to the Gradio people, I apologize for totally butchering that. But with that done, here is our updated styled app. It may not be in your taste, but you are totally free to take what I've done here and implement it to one of the other themes or change colors and so on. Or comment below about why I'm so stupid and I don't understand what those things mean. Anyway, so pretty cool. I think in the end, this gives me basically all of the control that I could possibly want for customizing a streaming chat interface. There's no way I could do something like this on my own. And so the fact that Gradio makes it this just simple to set up a streaming chat interface just for models when you're just trying to like check them out, play around with them, it's huge. Besides Gradio, HuggingFace also just has so many models coming out, and I just find that I just am constantly trying to tinker with them in console, and mainly I want to do that because of the streaming. So sometimes you'll wait up to maybe a minute or more to see the model's response when you could just stop and try something else if you see it's going in the wrong direction, or at least be actively reading it as it's generating it. The models, almost all of them, will, especially on GPU, can output at least tokens faster than you can read, or at least close to it. So having Gradio stream is basically giving us a way for the UI to have an instant response back from the model. So yeah, thank you to the Gradio team for those updates. And then also take note that if you're not familiar with Gradio, there are certainly many more things than just streaming chat for machine learning models. It's essentially geared for UI for just about all kinds of deep learning or machine learning, as well as like data science and so on. Anyway, that's all for now. Go build some chat apps. I'll have a link in the description to the code used here if you want it. And otherwise, check out the Neural Networks from Scratch book at nnfs.io. And I will see you all in another video.